Let us discuss development of musculoskeletal system from the basics, that is from trilaminar plate. What is trilaminar plate means? It consists of ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. Now let us consider this is the ectoderm. This is the ectoderm, and under the ectoderm it consists of neural tube, and below the neural tube it consists of notochord. This is a neural tube and this is a notochord, and on either sides of the neural tube and notochord it consists of mesoderm, let us consider this is a mesoderm, and below the mesoderm it consists of endoderm. Ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. These are the three trilaminar plates or trilaminar regions. Now, if while discussing the musculoskeletal system, we need to discuss or distinguish between extra embryonic mesoderm and intra embryonic mesoderm. Now, there is a special structure, that is this is the outermost layer, that is extra embryonic mesoderm, and this red color inner structure is this is the intra embryonic mesoderm. This is the outer extra embryonic mesoderm and this is the inner embryonic mesoderm. Now, as long as the baby is growing, now this lateral part of this midbrain, the lateral part of the midbrain will be cleaved into two halves. It will be cleaved into two parts. Whenever it is cleaved into two parts, now these two are, I will say these names afterwards. Now, whenever these are cleaved, now the middle part which is towards this neural tube and nerve cord, it is called para-axial mesoderm. This is called para-axial mesoderm. This is para-axial mesoderm, and this para-axial mesoderm will get thickened. This para-axial mesoderm will be thickened. It will get thickened in both the sides, and this is para-axial mesoderm, and the mesoderm which is present next to this para-axial mesoderm and more lateral to this lateral mesoderm is called intermediate mesoderm. This is the intermediate mesoderm. This is intermediate mesoderm. This is para-axial mesoderm and this is intermediate mesoderm. Para-axial mesoderm and intermediate mesoderm. Now, this lateral mesoderm is divided into, as we discussed, it is cleaved into two parts. One is, this is called somatic mesoderm. This is somatic mesoderm, and this is called splanchnic mesoderm. This is somatic mesoderm and this is splanchnic mesoderm. Now, this somatic mesoderm will be fuses with the extra embryonic mesoderm. In this also it is also same. it will be fuses with the extra embryonic mesoderm, but this planktonic do not fuses with the extra embryonic mesoderm. Now, after fusing with this, fusing of this somatic mesoderm with the extra embryonic mesoderm, now as we discussed that this is a endoderm, this is a mesoderm, this is ectoderm. Now this mesoderm will be folded towards inner side. It will be folded towards the inner side. It will be folded towards the inner side. Now, what is the structure after the folding this endoderm means? Let us draw the structure. This is endoderm and this is ectoderm. Ectoderm and this is endoderm, and here it consists of neural tube. This is a neural tube, and below the neural tube it consists of notochord. This is a neural tube and this is a notochord. Now, in between this it consists of paraxial mesoderm. This is paraxial mesoderm. These are the paraxial mesoderms, and these two are the paraxial mesoderms. These are the paraxial mesoderms, and these are the intermediate mesoderms. And after these intermediate mesoderms are classified into two forms. This is lateral mesoderm and this is intermediate mesoderm, and this is paraxial mesoderm. Now, this somatic mesoderm will be fuses with the ectoderm. Here it will be fused together and it becomes circular in manner, and this somatic mesoderm will also fuses to each other. Now, this entire structure it will become like a tube-like structure. Now, this ectoderm is used for the producing the skin. It involves in synthesis of skin. And this somatic mesoderm will provide the mesoderm, or it will provide the epithelial connective tissues for the skin, and this somatic mesoderm are involving in the synthesis of skeletal muscles. It involves in the synthesis of skeletal muscles. These somatic mesoderm are involved in the synthesis of skeletal muscles. And here let us discuss about splanchnic mesoderm. This splanchnic mesoderm is also called visceral mesoderm, and this visceral mesoderm is useful for the synthesis of smooth muscles. It involves in synthesis of smooth muscles. Whereas the somatic mesoderm is used for the synthesis of skeletal muscles, and this splanchnic mesoderm is used for the synthesis of smooth muscles. Now, when the somatic mesoderm and the skeletal mesoderms are differentiated, and there is a space which is formed between the somatic mesoderm and the splanchnic mesoderm. This is a space. This is a special space which is formed between the somatic mesoderm and the splanchnic mesoderm. Now, this space is called peritoneal space. Peritoneal space. Why it is called peritoneal space means this is a endoderm which is used for the development of gastrointestinal tract. It is the GIT, gastrointestinal tract, and dorsal to this gastrointestinal tract there is peritoneal cavity. This is the peritoneal cavity. Now, in this way, whenever this endoderm is coming closer towards each other, then it forms circular manner and it forms the thorax of the body. Now, if we bring out this only this special structure out, now let us study this special structure out. And before studying about that special structure, let us discuss about the development of musculoskeletal system. Now, this development of musculoskeletal system are studied under three categories. First category is development of skull. First category is development of skull, and second category is development of vertebral column. And third criteria is development of arms. Under these three categories, development of musculoskeletal system can be studied as of WHO classification. Now, let us study about these detailed structure. Now, let us consider first neural tube, or this is notochord. This is a notochord and surrounded by neural tube. Which is surrounded by the neural tube, and next coming lateral to this is neural tube. And coming more lateral to this, there is paraxial mesoderm. This paraxial mesoderm is present in cuboid forms. This is one cuboid form. And this is paraxial mesoderm, and on either side there is one more paraxial mesoderm. These are the paraxial mesoderms, and while going more lateral to this is intermediate mesoderm. This is the intermediate mesoderm. This is the intermediate mesoderm. paraxial mesoderm. This is neural tube and this is notochord. This is a neural tube and inside the neural tube it consists of notochord. This is a notochord. Now coming more later to this is the paraxial mesoderm, and coming more later to this there is intermediate mesoderm, and coming more later to this these are somatic mesoderm. This is somatic mesoderm and this is splanchnic mesoderm. Somatic mesoderm and splanchnic mesoderm. This is neural tube, notochord, paraxial mesoderms, intermediate mesoderms, somatic and splanchnic mesoderm, somatic and splanchnic mesoderm. Now these intermediate mesoderms are useful for the developing of kidneys. These are useful for the development of kidneys. These are useful for the development of kidneys. So here we do not discuss about the intermediate mesoderm because they are involving in the synthesis of kidneys, but our topic is about musculoskeletal system. So here it is involving in the synthesis of kidneys. Now as long as whenever baby is developing, as the age is processing, now there will be formation of segments between the paraxial mesoderms. There will be formation of segments. In this way, the segments will be formed in the paraxial mesoderms. Now, each of the segment which is formed in the paraxial mesoderm, it is called somites. These are called somites. These are called somites. Now, some of the somites which are present at the cephalic end will be moving to the occipital region of occipital bones. These are some of the somites which are segmented and are moving from outside, they will be moving from lower region to the upper region. Now these special somites are called occipital somatomeres. Occipital somatomeres. What is the function of this occipital somatomeres is we will be discussing in our further classes. And now let us discuss about one somite. Let us discuss one somite in larger form. Let us consider this is one somite and this is another somite, and here it is one somite and another somite. Now these somites are internally divided into two divisions. One is dorsal medial region and one is ventral lateral region. Ventrolateral region and dorsomedial region. Now what are the events that takes place here means, now these ventrolateral region of the somites will get activated, and here it consists of some epithelial cells, tightly packed epithelial cells. It consists of tightly packed epithelial cells. So whenever they get activated, these tightly packed epithelial cells will get loosened, and that the epithelial cells which becomes loosened will get converted into connective tissues, and these connective tissues will be moving from these ventrolateral part of these somites into the outside of these somites, and will be accumulated at the sides of this neural tube. In this way they get accumulated. Here also it is same. They get accumulated here, and these special connective tissue which is formed, by the somites, it is called mesenchyma. It is mesenchyma. This special structure is called mesenchyma. Now these mesenchymal cells will also move from this neural tube to the occipital somatomeres. And along with this mesenchyma, there are special types of cells that are called neural crust cells. These are called neural crust cells, which are present on either sides of the neural tube. These are present on either sides of the neural tube. These are called neural crust cells. Neural crust cells. These are called neural crust cells, and these neural crust cells which are produced from the mesenchyma and these occipital somatomeres which are produced in the mesenchyma are involved in the development of skull. Now first let us discuss about how the skull is developed. Development of skull. First let us discuss about the development of skull. That is our first aim, to study the development process which is involved in the development of skull. Now let us consider this is a skull of a human being, and here it consists of eyes, and this is a special structure that is called sella turcica. Now our topic is development of skull. Development of skull. Our topic is about development of skull. Now inside the skull it consists of forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. This is telencephalon and diencephalon and will be moving downwards. Now here there is a special structure that is called hypothalamus. Under this it consists of pituitary gland. Under this it consists of pituitary gland. And first let us discuss about synthesis of skull, development of skull, and let us discuss first the role of mesenchyma in the development of skull. That is role of mesenchyma. What is the most important chemical which is involved in the development of skull is mesenchymas. Mesenchyma is one of the most important chemical. Now, how this mesenchyma is useful for the synthesis of skull. Now, there are neural crust cells. First, there is a mesenchyma, and this mesenchyma is present at the anterior sides of neural tube, and this mesenchyma consists of neural crust cells. Now, the neural crust cells are involved in the development of this structure. Involved in the development of this part of the brain. Is involved in the synthesis of this part of the brain. Involved in synthesis of this anterior part of this brain through the neural crust cells. Now, before going into the detail of this skull is divided into two divisions. This is the one part and this is another part. Now, in this part it consists of central nervous system. So, only this entire part is called neurocranium. Neurocranium. This is called neurocranium, and it consists of only facial bones. So, this from here to here it is called visceral cranium. VISCERA, visceral cranium. This is neurocranium and this is visceral cranium. So, this is development of anterior part of the brain. Here it consists of only mesenchymal cells. Now, it is formed with the help of neural crust cells which are present on, and here it is neural tube. Inside the neural tube it consists of notochord. And these neural crust cells are coming from this lateral sides of this tube. In this way the neural crust cells are coming and involved in the development of this anterior part of the brain, anterior part of the telencephalon. And from where does this posterior part of this brain are developed means, there is one more special type of mesenchyma, that is from the occipital somatomeres. From the occipital somatomeres. These are from the occipital somatomeres. Now, these occipital somatomeres also consist of mesenchymal cells. Now, how these mesenchymal cells of occipital somatomeres are useful for developing of this brain means the mesenchyma of occipital somatomeres are involved in synthesis of posterior part of the brain. It involves in synthesis of posterior part of the brain. It involves in synthesis or development of posterior part of the brain. This anterior part, so now this outermost layer, it is called roof of the brain, and this is called floor of the brain. Now these neural crest cells which are useful or which are involved in synthesis of two parts, that is one is from roof. It involves in synthesis of brain parts of roof, and also involves in synthesis of floor. These neural crest cells are involved in developing of brain at the roof level, and also involves in the development of at floor level. And these occipital somatomeres are also involved in development of roof level and also at floor level. One is at roof level and other one is floor level. Now these all which is developed will be in mesenchymal form, which is fibrous connective tissue. Now these fibrous connective tissue should be converted into bony form. Now there are two methods or two pathways which are involved in conversion of these mesenchymal cells into the bony cells. There are two forms. One is, so there are two forms. One is first form and other one is second form. Let us discuss the first form. Now, in first form, these mesenchymal cells, let us consider this is mesenchymal cells, are directly converted into osteoblast cells. Directly converted into osteoblast cells. These mesenchymal cells are directly converted into osteoblast cells. This is first pathway, which is also called direct pathway. And there is one more pathway, that is second pathway. In second pathway, let us consider one mesenchymal cell. This mesenchymal tissue, they do not directly form these osteoblast cells. Rather, they forms one more special type of cells, that is chondroblast cells. They involve in synthesis of chondroblast cells. They involve in synthesis of chondroblast cells, and after the synthesis of chondroblast cells, then it forms osteoblast cells. This is second pathway. In first pathway, mesenchyma will be directly converted into osteoblast cells, and second pathway, this mesenchyma will get converted into chondroblast, that is cartilage, and it results in formation of osteoblast cells. Now this is called direct pathway and this is called indirect pathway. Now this direct pathway is also called intramembranous pathway. Intramembranous pathway. This is called intramembranous pathway. And the second pathway is also called chondroblastal pathway. Chondroblastal pathway. It involved in chondroblastic pathway and intramembranous pathway. Now, as I told that these telencephalon, which is developed from the neural crust cells and occipital somatomeres, is in mesenchymal form, that is fibrous connective tissue. Now, this fibrous connective tissue should be converted into bony form. How it will be formed means, now let us consider from this part to this part. From this part to this part. From this anterior or from the frontal portion of this cranium, it consists of mesenchymal cells. Now, these mesenchymal cells are directly converted into osteoblast cells. So, from this part to this part, it involves in intramembranous pathway. It involves in intramembranous pathway. So, from this part, from anterior part to the roof of it gets developed into bony forms. Now, while coming from this part to this part, that is from posterior parts, this is the posterior most part. It will be ended at the posterior side of this neural tube. Now, this special region, which also consists of mesenchymal cells, will get converted into these mesenchymal cells will get directly converted into osteoblast cells. Now, these posterior part also involves in intramembranous pathway. That is, the mesenchymal cells directly convert into the osteoblast cells. So, our frontal part has converted into the bony structure, and this posterior part is also converted into bony structure. Now, our remaining part is from this part to this part, that is posterior part, that is floor of the brain. Now, this is the anterior part has completed and posterior part of the completed, and our left out part is floor of the brain. Now, it consists of mesenchyma coming from occipital somatomeres, and it consists of mesenchyma from the neural crust cells, and involved in synthesis of brain, involved in the synthesis of this structure. Now, the neural let us consider this is mesenchymal cells which are present in this area. Now, these mesenchyma, as we discussed that this anterior part and posterior part has directly converted into from mesenchymal form into osteoblast form, but these mesenchymal cells which are present in the floor of the brain, they do not convert directly into the osteoblast cells, but they rather convert into the chondroblast, that is cartilaginous form. It gets converted into cartilaginous form. It gets converted into the cartilaginous forms. Whenever it gets converted into cartilaginous forms, and then after converting into the cartilaginous forms, then this cartilage will get converted into bone-like structures. Here, this part involves in this special part involves in chondroblastic pathway. Chondroblast pathway. In this way, the brain will get developed, that is, fibrous connective tissue will get converted into bony forms like structure, and these cerebral cortex consist of several types of bones, that is like it consists of frontal bone and two parietal bones, these two are the parietal bones, and this is occipital bone, and at the sides it consists of temporal bones. At the center it consists of ethmoid bone, and here it consists of sphenoid bone. Totally it consists of 8 bones: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Totally it consists of 8 bones, that is frontal bone, 2 parietal bone, 2 temporal bone and 1 occipital bone and 1 ethmoid bone and 1 sphenoid bone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These 8 types of bones are called cranial bones, and in between these cranial bones there is a special fibrous connective tissues which are immovable in nature, and these are called sutures, and the suture which is present between the frontal bone and 2 parietal bones is called coronal sutures. Coronal sutures. And there is one more structure, there is one more suture which is present between the two parietal bones, that is called sagittal suture, and there is one more suture which is present between the two parietal bones and occipital bone, that is called lambdoid suture. Lambdoid suture. These are different types of sutures which are present in the cranium. Now this is the development of neurocranium, and coming to the visceral cranium. Here it consists of maxillary bone, and on surface of maxillary bone it consists of zygomatic bones, and here it consists of nasal bones, and at the posterior sides it consists of temporal bones, and there is special arch that is called first pharyngeal arteries. First pharyngeal arch. Now the first pharyngeal arch will be cleaved into 2 forms. It will be cleaved into 2 forms. One is dorsal form, while the other one is ventral forms. This is the first pharyngeal arch. It is divided into 2 forms. One is dorsal and other one is ventral arch. Now these dorsal arch are involved in the development of maxillary bones and zygomatic bones and nasal bones and lacrimal bones, and these are dorsal division, and this is ventral division. This ventral division involves in the development of mandibular bones. This is mandibular bone. It involves in development of mandibular bone, and from the first and It also involves in the synthesis of or development of two bones which are present in the inner ear, that is malleus and incus. Malleus and incus are developed from the first pharyngeal arch, whereas there is second pharyngeal arch. This is a second pharyngeal arch. Inside the second pharyngeal arch, it consists of cartilage. Inside this, it consists of a cartilage. Now, this cartilage will not convert into bone-like structure, but there is a special mesenchyma which is present on surface, on outer sides of this cartilage, will be converted into cartilage form. Now this cartilage will get converted into bony form. This is second pharyngeal arch. It involves in synthesis of jaw bones, and this second pharyngeal arch also involves in synthesis of third smallest bone, that is stipes. First two malleus and incus are developed from the first pharyngeal arch, whereas these third stipes bone is developed from the second pharyngeal arch. Now, in this way, the skull will be developed, that is neurocranium and visceral cranium will be developed. Now, these consist of 8 bones, and here it consists of 14 bones. Totally, it includes 22 bones. This is development of skull. Now, let us discuss about the development of arms. Let us discuss in detail about development of arms. Now, this is endoderm and this is the endoderm. This is the ectoderm, and this is the neural tube. Below the neural tube, it consists of notochord, and it includes paraxial mesoderm, and intermediate mesoderms, and somatic mesoderms. These are the somatic mesoderms, and these are the splanchnic mesoderms. Now, from where does the arms are developed? This is the thorax. Now, this is the ectoderm. There is a special gene that is called Hox gene. HOX, Hox gene. Now, because of presence of special gene, that is Hox gene, now this Hox gene are involved in the formation of bulge-like structures. There will be formation of bulge-like structure at the sides. Now, whenever there is formation of bulge-like structure in the ectoderm, it will also pull the somatic mesoderm. So it forms zigzag-like manner. Now, whenever there is elevation of this ectoderm and somatic mesoderm, and ectoderm and somatic mesoderm, now there is special growth factors, or before discussing about there is special growth factors that are called fibroblast growth factors. Fibroblast growth factors number 8 and number 10. There is special fibroblast growth factors number 8 and number 10. Now these special fibroblast growth factors will activate the special protein that is called bone morphogenetic protein. It involved in synthesis of special protein that is bone morphogenic protein. It is shortly written as BMP. Now this BMP will get activated. Now this BMP, whenever this bone morphogenic protein is activated, then the anterior most part of this ectoderm will get thickened. It will become thickened. It becomes thickened. Now whenever this bone morphogenic protein is activated, then this anterior most part of this ectoderm will get thickened, and it involves in rapid proliferations of this somatic mesoderm. Somatic mesoderm will get rapid proliferations. Now in presence of this bone morphogenic protein, this fibroblast growth factors will get activated for longer period of time. It remains activated for longer period. Now these, with the help of this fibroblast growth factor 8 and 10, they will involve in the growth of this special structure. Now here it has started growing in this manner. Whenever it is moving from away apart from this somatic mesoderm, this special structure, which is thickened structure, is called anterior ectodermal ridge. Anterior ectodermal ridge, AER, shortly written as AER, that is anterior ectodermal ridge. Now whenever it is formed, then it will grab the, whenever this anterior ectodermal ridge is formed, it will grab the somatic mesodermal layer towards it, so that it will grab from here to the, it will be situated in this area. It will be situated in this area. Now this special area is called progressive zone. Progressive zone. Special zone is called progressive zone. Now whenever this progressive zone is formed, it do not allow proliferation of this remaining somatic mesoderm. So there will be accumulation of mesenchyma in this area. Now whenever mesenchyma is accumulated, now it start growing in this manner, and these anterior ectodermal ridge will be subdivided into 5 divisions. In this way, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. In this way, it involves in division of 5 subdivisions. Whenever there is subdivisions, whenever this area divided into 5 subdivisions, the diagram will be changed. So here it is AER. It is AER, and at the inner side of this AER it consists of progressive zone, it involves in, this is progressive zone and this is AER, and whenever these are divided into 5 subdivisions, then there will be development of cartilage. This mesenchyma will get converted to cartilage forms. Here it will get converted into cartilaginous forms, and this is one more cartilage. Now here there is one more special structure that is called zone of, this is called zone of proliferative area. This is called zone of proliferative area, and it is responsible for the shape of thumbnail. It is responsible for the shape of thumbnail. It is responsible for the shape of thumbnail, and it also consists of, here also it consists of several cells, and whenever the hand shape is formed, now these cartilaginous forms should get converted into bony forms. Now this middle part is called diaphysis. This middlemost part is called diaphysis, and this anterior part is called epiphysis, and in between the epiphysis and diaphysis there is special structure that is called metaphysis. This is structure of bone, and first, what is the structure which is developed first means, this is the, let us consider this is the diaphysis. In diaphysis it undergoes primary ossification. It involves in, it undergoes primary ossification and forms diaphysis, and at these lateral sites in epiphysis it undergoes secondary ossification. It undergoes secondary ossification. Now in this way the bones are formed. There is not only one bone. Let us consider this is a arm, that is forelimb, and it consists of humerus, and it also consists of radius and ulnars, and it involves carpals, 8 carpals, 8 carpals, and it also involves 14 phalanges. It is thumbnail, 1, 2, 3. So there are total 14 phalanges. Let us consider this is one forelimb. So it consists of one humerus and one radius and one ulnar bone and carpals, and it involves in metacarpals. These are the metacarpals. And it involves in phalanges. One, carpals 8, metacarpals 5, and phalanges 14. Totally, it involves 30 bones. So, as we know that the skeleton system divided into two forms, one is axial skeleton and other one is appendicular skeleton. Axial skeleton system includes skull, vertebral column, sternum, and ribs, whereas appendicular skeleton system includes pectoral girdle, and pelvic girdle, and also includes limbs, that is forelimbs and hind limbs. In this way, the arms will get developed. If it is a hind limb, and here it consists of special kneecap. There is a special kneecap. In this way, the arms are developed. This is the development of arms. Now, let us discuss about the development of vertebral column. Now let us discuss the development of vertebral column. This is a neural tube, and inside of the neural tube it consists of notochord, and there are special paraxial mesoderms, these are the paraxial mesoderms. These are the paraxial mesoderms. Now, as we discussed that this is vertebrolateral and dorsolateral. Now, the cells which are present in ventrolateral sides, it consists of epithelial cells which are tightly packed. Epithelial cells are tightly packed. In this way, the epithelial cells are tightly packed. These are called somites, individual somites, and they undergo certain modifications, and these epithelial cells will become loose in nature, and it becomes loose in nature, and they will come near to the neural tube. these are the mesenchymal tissue which is coming towards the neural tube, and this half part of this is called somatomere. Now if we remove out this somatomere from this area, let us consider this is one somatomere, another somatomere, and another somatomere. These are the somatomeres. Now these somatomeres, individual somatomeres, are divided into two divisions. One is anterior part and other one is posterior part. This is anterior part and this is posterior part. Anterior and posterior. Anterior and posterior. In this way, the somites are divided to anterior part and posterior part. Now, if we discuss a structure of typical vertebral column, typical vertebrae, here it consists of vertebral arch, and here it consists of transverse process. This canal, spinal canal, and here the somatomeres which are releasing the mesenchyma will be also moving from the posterior part to the cephalic part, and it involves in formation of atlas and axis, that is cephalic trunks or cephalic vertebrae. Now these somatomeres are divided into anterior part and posterior part. Now one of the important point to remember in formation of vertebral columns is, now these this spinal cord, this is also called spinal cord, this spinal cord will release nerves into respective somatomeres. So because of releasing of these nerves, and these mesenchymal cells cannot be entered into this respective segment of spinal cord which is releasing the nerves. So in order to overcome that abnormalities, now these somatomeres are furtherly modified as, this is anterior part and posterior, anterior, posterior, anterior, posterior, anterior, posterior, anterior, posterior. Now this posterior part of one somatomere is linked with anterior part of next somatomere. In this way they are linked together. In this way, the link together, one is the posterior part of one somatomere will be attached to the anterior part of next somatomere. So then it results in formation of, this somatomere will result in formation of one vertebral column. It results in formation of one vertebrae. So these consist of mesenchymal cells. These mesenchymal cells will be moving around this spinal cord, and it forms vertebral arch. Involves in synthesis of vertebral arch. Now this one individual somatomere, one individual somatomere is involved in synthesis of one vertebral arch and ultimately results in synthesis of one vertebrae. Now, this is another somatomere which releases mesenchymal cells and it forms next vertebral arch. So this is another somatomere, it releases mesenchymal cells and it releases vertebral arch, and this vertebral arch undergoes ossification, that is intramembranous ossification, directly converts into bone-like structures. And here one vertebrae will be formed. In this way the vertebrae are formed. So the vertebrae which is formed will be considered as it is intervertebral. It is not a intravertebral, it is intervertebral, because one somatomere is attached to the next somatomere. Let us consider this is one somatomere and this is another somatomere. This is anterior part, posterior part, anterior part, posterior part. So here this is spinal cord. Now this posterior part of one somatomere will be united with anterior part of another somatomere and releases mesenchymal cells. These mesenchymal cells are used for the formation of vertebral arches. Whenever these vertebral arches are formed, below it consists of spinal cord. It forms transverse fissures, transverse process. So in this way vertebral column is formed. So this vertebral column consists of 33 bones. The first type of vertebral is called cervical vertebrae, that is 7 in number, and out of these 7 the first 2 are more predominant such, that is first one is atlas and second one is axis. It is attached to the occipital condyles. It attached to the occipital condyles. These are 7 vertebrae, that is first one cervical vertebrae, second one is thoracic vertebrae. It is 12 in number, cervical, thoracic. Next one is lumbar vertebrae. It is 5 in number. Next one is sacral vertebrae. It is 5 in number but fused together. And next one coaxial vertebrae. And it is 4 in number but it is fuse-like structure. Fuse-like only one. So totally there are 33 in number. 33 pairs of vertebrae are present. So this is the development of vertebral system, vertebral column. We discussed that development of skull, development of arms and development of vertebral column. And the remaining part is pectoral girdle and pelvic girdle. Here this pectoral girdle and this is a structure of pectoral girdle in which it is classified under the appendicular skeletal system, and this triangular structure is called scapula, and this anterior bone which is present, it is called collar bone, which is called clavicle, and this is the horn-like structure, and at the posterior most part of this horn-like structure it includes special structure that is called acromion process. This is called acromion process. Now the space which is present below this acromion process is called glenoid cavity. This special place is called glenoid cavity. Here what is the function of this glenoid cavity is it involves in attachment of humerus bone. Head of the humerus bone will get attached here. Head of the humerus bone will get attached. That is scapula, clavicle, and it is acromion process and scapula, and this is glenoid process which involves in attachment of humerus bone. This is about pectoral girdle, and pelvic girdle is, it involves in 3 bones. It involves in, totally it consists of 6 bones. It is combination of 3 bones, that is ilium, ischium and pubis. Ilium, ischium, pubis, these are the structural or important functional bones of this pelvic girdle, and the junction of this ilium, ischium, pubis is called acetabulum. The junction of this ilium, ischium, pubis is called acetabulum. So these are some important topics about development of skull, development of vertebral column, and development of this spinal cord or vertebral column, and development of arms.